gifted humor and why is it so unique? Well, to help illustrate this for you, I give you Exhibit A. I recently took a trip to Washington, D.C. with my family. Now, this is the second time I've been to D.C., and each time I've gone, I have had itchy ears, itchy throat, sneezing, yes, allergies. I've gone in different seasons, stayed in different places. The only thing I can figure out about all of this is that I'm allergic to politicians. Hi guys, I'm Kathleen Lewis. I'm a homeschool graduate, homeschool mom, learning enthusiast, and yes, I am gifted. Gifted people have quirky humor, and it's probably most noticed amongst kids because their humor is just advanced beyond their typical peers. But you also have it in adults too. Some of the things that gifted humor is known for are puns, sarcasm, or irony. That's our preference. For me, I was wondering why for years I was never laughing at sitcoms or classic comedian TV shows like The Office or Parks and Rec. I had people telling me it's hilarious, and I'm going, I mean, sure, I can see the humor, but it's not that funny. Let me break down the gifted humor for you. First up is puns. I'm going to go straight to Shakespeare for a classic and hilarious pun. So, Romeo and Juliet, Mercutio's, I cannot say that right today. Mercutio is dying, and Romeo asks him about his welfare. I mean, how are you doing, man? I see you've got a mortal wound. How are you doing? And Mercutio responds, ask for me tomorrow, and you shall find me a grave man. Yes, we gifted individuals are the most likely to start cracking up laughing that, yeah, you can't ask him tomorrow because he's going to be in the grave. He's going to be literally a grave man. And if you have to explain a pun, it's just not funny anymore, isn't it? Now, let me be clear, you do not have to be gifted to appreciate a good pun. My husband is not gifted, he's a major intellectual though, and puns are his favorite form of humor. I get them a lot. Sorry, honey, some of them are just bad. Another thing with gifted humor that's particularly noticeable amongst the kids is advanced language insults. Now, you can go direct to Shakespeare again for this. I have here a mug full of Shakespeare insults. He is known for some great ones, like roast meat for worms, or I do desire that we may be better strangers. He is a king of the highfalutin insults, let me tell you. For the kids, let me tell you about this story. I heard about a 4 or 5-year-old who was on a school playground and she and the other kids were getting into a big old insult fight. And 4 or 5, the insults are gonna be like, you're stupid, or you're ugly, or whatever the kids wanna call him. And she was saying, you're a Neanderthal. And of course that went right over the rest of the kids' heads because 4 or 5-year-olds do not know what Neanderthals were. If you have seen or experienced an example of advanced humor, I'd love to know about it. Drop it down in the comments. One more Shakespeare insult that I could not pass up. You are the rankest compound of villainous smell that ever offended nostrils. Probably another one of my personal favorite humor devices is irony. For example, did you know that Pizza Hut used to be the largest consumer of kale in the United States? They used it to decorate their salad bars. If you are finding humor like that as hilarious as I do, bump that like button, let me know it. Now, kids in particular will be able to appreciate irony much sooner if they're gifted than if they're not. So you'll have a 6-year-old be able to appreciate an ironic situation that you typically would not have the meta-thinking ability to understand until junior high and high school. So because of the complex and weird nature of how our brains are wired, we can appreciate nuances a lot sooner than the typical brain. Piggybacking right on top of irony is sarcasm. Unfortunately, I think gifted people love going to sarcasm for humor because of the nuance aspect to it. And I say unfortunately because a lot of our communication nowadays is taking place over text, and you do not have the non-verbals, the tone, the facial expressions to be able to communicate how serious you are, or if you're just being lighthearted sarcasm, or if you're absolutely mocking. So if sarcasm is your go-to, I would say be very careful because you can quickly ruin relationships. Okay, I told you Exhibit B, example of my humor. We did take a trip to Washington, D.C. We went with a small group, and I'm not going to say who went so that the parties involved may remain anonymous. But my family went, and we went with a few other people. We're walking around the mall there in Washington, D.C., and we see this one building, and my husband asked, "What building is that?" I responded, "That's the African Art Building." And he wanted to know, is there an Asian art building too? So we answered, yes, there's an Asian art building. But I could not leave that conversation there. I had to add on, but you won't find an Antarctica art building. My husband gave me a chuckle at that, but there was someone there who did not get the joke. He had to go on and explain to me that, Antarctica is not really that populated, and if there's even a people group there, they're so small that the art's not well known. But I don't really think there is a people group living there. So that's why, Kathleen, there is no Antarctic art building. To which I had to respectfully reply, that's why I made a joke about it. If you are a gifted individual, you have experienced this. Your brain does something called skip thinking or meta thinking. And if you don't know what that is, stick around, hit subscribe. I will cover that in a future video. Your gifted brain is wired in such a way that it takes connections that people don't normally make, also makes jumps that the typical brain can't really follow. So you may make a joke that is absolutely hilarious, but no one around you gets it. They're just staring at you as if you're dumb. And after years of experiencing this myself, I just learned to mute. I would keep all the hilarious stuff in my mind. And yeah, we shut down. We don't communicate our hilarious thoughts because a joke isn't funny if you have to explain it. My husband's been married to me long enough, and we have a similar enough sense of humor that he usually gets me, which is something I love about you, sweetheart. So I have an outlet for my humor, and he gives the puns back to me. But not all people have this outlet, and it's something that we just have to adjust to everyone else. The other thing that gifted humor results in are the troublemakers in class. The kids who just are not being challenged enough. So they try to find a way to entertain themselves. So they're the ones that are the class clowns. They're the ones that are cracking up everyone else because they're just plain old bored. So if you're a teacher out there listening to this, or if you're a homeschool mom and you're listening to this, if your kid is gifted and they start playing, they start making jokes, they start being imaginative. I experienced this recently with my son with math. It wasn't that he was distracted, it was he was bored. He wasn't being mentally challenged enough. So he was trying to find an outlet for his mental energy. So just be aware of that. If you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments, or let me know your own experiences with gifted